It was supposed to be just another celebrity interview on the long-running daytime talk show The View, but nobody could have predicted the explosive confrontation that unfolded when Hollywood legend Harrison Ford stepped onto the stage as a surprise guest. The studio audience erupted in applause the moment the iconic star of Indiana Jones and Star Wars walked out looking sharp in a casual jacket and trademark grin, while the hosts, including Whoopi Goldberg, Sunny Hostin, Sarah Haynes and Joy Behar, all stood to greet him warmly. At first, Ford sat down between the ladies and the conversation kicked off lightheartedly with questions about his upcoming film projects and his thoughts on returning to beloved franchises after decades in the business. Joy Behar, however, seemed eager to push boundaries right from the start, cracking jokes about Ford's age and his history of outspoken comments on Hollywood politics that quickly drew chuckles from the crowd but subtle tension from the guest himself. As the segment progressed, the atmosphere shifted noticeably when Behar pivoted to a hot-button topic involving recent industry controversies and accused Ford of staying silent on important social issues, which made the actor's expression harden instantly. The live cameras captured every moment as viewers at home sensed something brewing, and social media already began lighting up with speculation about what might happen next in this unpredictable encounter that would soon rock the entire show. Harrison Ford leaned forward in his chair, his voice steady but laced with unmistakable irritation as he addressed Joy Behar, directly telling her that her assumptions about his personal beliefs were not only inaccurate but also disrespectful to the years he had spent advocating quietly for causes that mattered without seeking the spotlight like some other celebrities did on a daily basis. Behar fired back immediately, insisting that as a public figure he had a responsibility to speak louder and more frequently, which only fueled the fire between them, while the other hosts tried desperately to steer the discussion back to safer ground with awkward laughter and attempts at changing the subject. The audience grew restless, some cheering for Ford's no-nonsense style while others gasped at the escalating exchange that felt more like a debate club showdown than a friendly chat show segment. Ford remained composed at first, explaining calmly how his private life choices had always reflected his values far more than performative interviews ever could, but Behar refused to back down, pressing him on specific past statements and demanding he clarify his stance live on air for millions watching at home. The tension thickened with every passing second as producers in the control room signaled frantically for commercial breaks, yet the hosts powered through, determined to keep the drama unfolding in real time. What started as playful banter had transformed into a full-blown argument that exposed deep divides in how Hollywood figures were expected to behave and left everyone wondering just how far this heated clash would go before someone finally crossed an irreversible line. As the argument intensified, Harrison Ford's patience clearly reached its limit when Joy Behar interrupted him mid-sentence to accuse him of dodging accountability, which prompted the veteran actor to stand up slightly from his seat and deliver a pointed response that silenced the studio for a brief moment. He stated firmly that he had never claimed to be a political activist and that forcing celebrities into constant public declarations was exactly what made people tune out from shows like this one, turning entertainment into endless lectures instead of genuine conversation. Behar's face flushed with visible frustration as she shot back, calling his attitude dismissive and out of touch with modern audiences, which drew mixed reactions from the live crowd, including scattered boos and supportive claps that only heightened the chaotic energy filling the set. The other co-hosts exchanged nervous glances, attempting to mediate with light jokes, but the damage was already done as Ford continued explaining how his career had always spoken for itself through the roles he chose rather than through viral sound bites demanded by critics like her. Cameras zoomed in tightly on both faces, capturing the raw emotion, while producers whispered urgently into earpieces, hoping to de-escalate before things spiraled completely out of control on live television. What had begun as a promotional appearance was now a battlefield of words where neither side seemed willing to concede ground, and the entire viewing audience at home held its collective breath, waiting for the inevitable breaking point that everyone could feel approaching rapidly. Joy Behar leaned across the table, her voice rising sharply as she accused Harrison Ford of being part of the problem in Hollywood for refusing to evolve with the times, which struck a nerve so deeply that the actor responded with unfiltered honesty, telling her that her constant need to provoke guests for ratings was precisely why so many stars avoided shows like The View altogether in the first place. The studio erupted in a wave of gasps and murmurs as Behar's eyes widened in shock at the direct personal attack while the other hosts froze in their seats unsure whether to laugh it off or intervene immediately to prevent further escalation. Ford pressed onward, emphasizing that true change came from actions, not from forced apologies on morning television, and that her line of questioning revealed more about her own agenda than any shortcomings in his public record over 50 years in the industry. Behar attempted to regain control by reminding him they were live and that millions were watching, but Ford simply smiled wryly and suggested perhaps those millions would prefer hearing from someone who actually had something original to say rather than recycled talking points designed to stir controversy. The atmosphere grew electric with anticipation as crew members shifted uncomfortably in the background and social media exploded with real-time clips already going viral across platforms. This was no longer a simple interview, it had become a defining moment where decades of pent-up frustrations between old-school Hollywood and modern talk show culture collided head-on, leaving everyone on set and at home stunned by the intensity unfolding without any signs of slowing down. The breaking point arrived suddenly when Joy Behar stood up abruptly from her chair, her microphone still clipped to her blouse, as she declared loudly that she had endured enough of Harrison Ford's condescending attitude and would not sit there being lectured by a guest who clearly had no respect for the platform or its hosts. The entire studio fell into stunned silence for a split second before chaos erupted, with audience members shouting reactions while the other co-hosts jumped to their feet trying to calm the situation, but Behar was already removing her microphone with shaking hands, her face a mixture of anger and tears as she announced right there on live television that this would be her final appearance on The View after years of dealing with similar disrespect from entitled celebrities. Harrison Ford remained seated watching the scene unfold with a calm expression that only seemed to infuriate Behar further as she pointed directly at him and stated that his behavior had finally crossed the line, forcing her to quit in protest rather than continue enabling what she called toxic masculinity disguised as honesty. Producers rushed onto the set attempting to cut to commercial, but the cameras kept rolling, capturing every raw second of the meltdown, including Behar's dramatic exit through the side door, while security followed closely behind her. The remaining hosts stared in disbelief at the empty chair where Joy had been sitting just moments earlier, realizing that this heated argument had just changed the landscape of the show forever in a way no one could have scripted or predicted. In the aftermath of Joy Behar's shocking on-air departure, Harrison Ford sat quietly for a few moments before addressing the stunned audience and remaining hosts with a measured tone, explaining that he had never intended to cause such disruption but believed strongly in standing up for honest dialogue instead of scripted controversy that often dominated daytime television. The other co-hosts quickly wrapped up the segment with awkward transitions promising viewers updates on the situation, while backstage chaos ensued as network executives scrambled to contain the fallout from what had rapidly become one of the most talked about moments in recent television history. Social media platforms crashed under the weight of millions sharing clips of the argument and Behar's dramatic quit, with hashtags trending worldwide within minutes as fans debated whether Ford had gone too far or simply exposed a long overdue truth about the industry's double standards. Later that day, official statements from the show's producers confirmed that Joy Behar had indeed stepped away permanently, citing creative differences and personal reasons, though insiders whispered that the confrontation with Harrison Ford had been the final straw after years of building tensions. Ford himself issued a brief comment through his representatives expressing regret for any discomfort caused but reaffirming his commitment to authenticity over performative politics. What started as a routine celebrity appearance had transformed into a cultural flashpoint that left The View forever altered and reminded everyone watching that live television could still deliver moments of unscripted reality powerful enough to end careers and spark nationwide conversations, all in the span of a single unforgettable hour.